In the world of historical warfare, the image of a heavily armored warrior carrying a shield is almost universal. But in Japan, the samurai, perhaps the most iconic of all warriors, stood out by not using shields at all. Why would such skilled fighters forego one of the most basic forms of defense? In this video, we delve into the fascinating reasons behind this mystery, exploring cultural, military, and technological factors that made the samurai's path so unique. Chapter 2. Historical background: the use of shields in the West. To understand why samurai did not use shields, it's essential to look first at how shields were used across the rest of the world, particularly in Western warfare. In Europe, shields were a staple of military equipment for centuries. As early as ancient Greece, warriors such as the Spartans used large round shields called hoplons. These were not only used for individual protection but also to form tight shield walls in battle, such as the famous phalanx formation. These formations were difficult to penetrate and demonstrated the importance of shields in coordinated defensive tactics. Later, during the Roman Empire, shields evolved into rectangular or oval shapes known as scuda. Roman legionaries used them both for individual protection and to create formations like the testudo, or tortoise, which allowed units to advance under cover of a unified wall of shields. Throughout the Middle Ages, European knights carried kite-shaped and heater shields. These provided coverage for mounted troops and infantry alike, adapting in shape and material over time. Shields were not merely defensive tools, they also served ceremonial and symbolic purposes. Coats of arms were painted onto shields to display family lineage or allegiance. As plate armor advanced and firearms emerged, shields gradually became obsolete on the battlefield. However, their presence endured in parades, rituals, and heraldry. This long and rich tradition shows just how central shields were in many military systems. Their widespread use makes the absence of shields in samurai warfare all the more intriguing. Chapter 3. Main analysis: why did samurai abandon shields? As we shift our focus to Japan, the absence of shields in samurai warfare becomes more than just a visual oddity. It becomes a reflection of cultural and technological evolution. Historically, shields did exist in ancient Japan. During the Yayoi and Kofun periods, warriors used handheld wooden or leather shields, and records such as the Gishi Wajinden mention their use in early Japanese warfare. Moreover, okidate, or stationary shields, were frequently placed on the battlefield to protect archers and commanders. These were especially common in siege warfare and appear in early texts and archaeological findings. For a time, shields were standard military equipment in Japan, so why did they disappear? One turning point was the introduction of horses in combat. After contact with the Korean peninsula and exposure to cavalry tactics, Japanese warfare shifted to favor mounted combat. However, Japan's native horse breeds were relatively small and, more importantly, ungelded. These horses were temperamental and difficult to control, making one-handed riding with a shield impractical. Samurai had to use both hands to manage their horses, forcing them to abandon handheld shields. Simultaneously, Japanese armor underwent significant innovation. Unlike European full-plate armor, Japanese armor was designed with both mobility and protection in mind. Techniques like lamellar construction, where small metal plates were laced together, created suits that could resist slashes while allowing freedom of movement. By the Heian and Kamakura periods, armor like the Oyoroi provided ample protection without needing a separate shield. Weapons also influenced this evolution. Samurai favored two-handed weapons: longbows, yumi, spears, yari, and later, polearms like the naginata. These weapons required both hands to wield effectively. The katana, though iconic, was often a secondary weapon. Moreover, its design prioritized slicing rather than thrusting, necessitating controlled, two-handed use for maximum effect. Then there were cultural values. The Bushido Code, which emphasized honor, courage, and readiness for death, discouraged overtly defensive tactics. Seiko Bue, the idea that offense is the best defense, became a key tenet of samurai ethos. Holding a shield might be seen as cowardly or overly cautious. Samurai were expected to charge forward, unafraid of death, which made bulky, passive defense tools like shields incompatible with their worldview. Lastly, Japanese battlefields were often mountainous, forested, or otherwise difficult terrain. This limited the effectiveness of shield walls or formations like those used in Europe. Japanese warfare was often more individualistic, with emphasis on personal combat and duels between champions. Under such conditions, agility and speed outweighed static defense. Thus, the disappearance of the shield from Japanese warfare was not due to ignorance or oversight, but rather a convergence of environmental, technological, tactical, and philosophical factors that made its continued use impractical. Chapter 4. Modern Connection. Legacy of the Shieldless Samurai. Although samurai no longer roam battlefields, their legacy endures in modern Japan, and the absence of the shield still holds symbolic weight. Martial arts such as kendo and iaido, which derive from samurai traditions, emphasize precision, agility, and offensive movement. Practitioners wear protective gear but do not use shields. Instead, they rely on technique and reflexes, much like the warriors of old. This reflects a continued preference for skill and direct confrontation over passive defense. In popular culture, the image of the samurai has become a global icon. Films, anime, and video games frequently depict lone swordsmen facing overwhelming odds with nothing but their blades and honor. These portrayals draw from the same ethos that made shields unnecessary in historical Japan: courage, discipline, and the readiness to die for one's cause. Furthermore, the philosophical underpinnings of Bushido, valor, loyalty, and honor, continue to influence Japanese society. In business, education, and even sports, the ideals of perseverance and facing challenges head-on are celebrated. The decision to forego the shield, in this sense, becomes more than a military strategy; it becomes a cultural statement. Thus, the absence of the shield is not simply a forgotten artifact of history, but a reflection of a mindset that continues to resonate with people today, both in Japan and around the world. The samurai's rejection of the shield wasn't a mistake; it was a reflection of their environment, values, and warfare style. Rooted in honor and practicality, this choice highlights the uniqueness of Japanese martial culture. Even today, this legacy endures in how Japan views combat, discipline, and self-mastery. Sometimes, what is missing tells us just as much as what is present. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We share more stories from Japan's rich history and culture every week. Your support means a lot to us. Until next time, stay curious, and see you soon.